In the heart of America's political storm stood one man, loud, controversial, and always unafraid to push boundaries. His name, Charlie Kirk. To his supporters, he was a fearless defender of conservative values. To his critics, he was a dangerous provocateur who thrived on division. But no one expected what happened one quiet night. Shots fired, panic, and the fall of one of the most polarizing figures in recent history. This is the story of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. To understand why Charlie Kirk became a target, we need to understand who he was. Born in 1993, he rose quickly to prominence as the founder of Turning Point USA, a conservative student organization that spread across college campuses. Kirk built a brand around being young, brash, and unfiltered. For many conservatives, he represented the new generation of political activism. But for others, he was the embodiment of everything wrong with modern American politics. His speeches were fiery, his debates confrontational, and his critics? They were everywhere. Activists, journalists, politicians, some saw him as an enemy, others as a threat. Over the years, death threats became part of his daily life. But nobody thought one would finally break through. By 2024, Charlie Kirk wasn't just a voice online. He was a figurehead, moving crowds, influencing elections, and commanding loyalty. But influence brings enemies, and enemies bring danger.
On September 10, 2025, Utah Valley University in Orem hosted the first stop of a national speaking tour. Roughly 3,000 people were inside the venue: students, staff, media, supporters, and critics, gathered for an outdoor event that, until midday, seemed like any other high-energy campus appearance. At about midday, a gunshot rang out. Charlie Kirk was struck. A single lethal bullet. Chaos followed. People ran, security reacted, medics raced through the crowd, and the campus went into lockdown. Kirk was taken to a hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. Investigators concluded the shot came from a rooftop, the Losi Student Success Center on the UVU campus. Surveillance and forensic analysis tracked the suspect's movements through stairwells and up to the roof, where he fired the shot and then jumped from the roof to flee across campus. Near the area where the suspect fled, law enforcement later recovered a high-powered bolt-action rifle, reported by multiple outlets as an older Mauser model, wrapped in a towel and left in the brush. Unfired rounds and casings found with the weapon bore curious engravings, phrases and internet meme language that investigators later described as a strange mix of anti-fascist references and meme culture. The symbolism puzzled experts. Were the inscriptions a political message, trolling, or deliberate misdirection? Investigators warned against quick conclusions. Context matters, but the markings became a key clue in understanding the suspect's internet life and possible motives. Investigators discovered messages on Discord and other online spaces that referenced a rifle wrapped in a towel, a drop point in the woods, and even the engraving of casings. In the hours after the shooting, an account apparently linked to the suspect posted messages that read like a confession. "It was me," and "I'm surrendering soon." Those messages, combined with other digital communications and tips from friends and family, helped law enforcement follow the trail. The clock ran. Within 33 hours, investigators had thousands of tips, hundreds of interviews, and growing pressure to find a suspect. Eventually, law enforcement traced the person of interest to Washington County, Utah. The suspect, identified as 22-year-old Tyler James Robinson, was taken into custody after family members recognized the FBI images and coordinated a surrender through trusted contacts. Officials described it as a careful, de-escalated process rather than a dramatic shootout. Forensic work tied key pieces together. DNA recovered from the towel that had wrapped the rifle, and from trace evidence on the rooftop, matched the suspect, according to federal officials. Investigators also recovered physical notes and a premeditation text the suspect had written, as well as additional messages showing planning and, afterward, apparent admissions. Taken together, physical evidence, digital messages, and witness statements, the case moved from suspicion to charge. Public reporting about Robinson shows a young man from Utah who had friends and family who were later central to the surrender. In court filings and news interviews, prosecutors said he left a note saying he planned it, and he allegedly confessed in texts to associates afterward. But beyond those messages, investigators and behavioral experts cautioned against easy labels. Was this ideological extremism, a product of meme cultures, mental illness, or some mix of all three? The answer matters, but it is complicated.
Good afternoon. My name is Judge Graff. I will be handling the first appearance calendar today. At the conclusion of the hearing for the first case, the court will take a recess and remind all those who are scheduled for the first appearance calendar to log back in 15 minutes after the court has taken a recess. Calling case 251-403-576. State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Prosecutors charged Tyler Robinson with aggravated murder and multiple related counts, including obstruction and witness tampering. Utah authorities announced they intended to seek the death penalty. Robinson appeared in court virtually, where judges set conditions and protective orders were filed for the victim's family and others impacted by the attack. Kirk's death set off an immediate national conversation about political violence, the tone of public life, the role of social media, and how extremist or meme-laden cultures can intersect with real-world harm. Leaders from both parties denounced the killing. Law enforcement called it a political assassination. Families mourned. Supporters called Kirk a martyr.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth.
Opponents, while condemning the violence, pointed to the corrosive effects of relentless, incendiary rhetoric.
Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated. But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half-staff, calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land.
In the days after the shooting, UVU and other institutions began auditing security. Which venues had adequate perimeter screening, rooftop access control, and armed presence for high-profile visitors. Officials said this attack exposed how a determined attacker can exploit campus architecture, stairwells, maintenance access, and unmonitored roofs to commit a focused, lethal act. A public memorial for Charlie Kirk at State Farm Stadium in Glendale drew tens of thousands. A mix of funeral, political rally, and revival.
The evil murderer who took Charlie from us expected us to have a funeral today, and instead, my friends, we have had a revival in celebration of Charlie Kirk and of his Lord Jesus Christ.
With leading conservative figures paying tribute and calling for action against political violence, security for the event was elevated to a federal Level 1 special event, given the crowd size and profile of attendees. The killing forced uncomfortable questions. How do we protect public figures and large venues without turning campuses into fortresses? How do we distinguish ideological motive from subcultural trolling or from mental illness? And how do platforms and law enforcement cooperate without trampling civil liberties to spot people who are moving from words to weapons? Charlie Kirk's death will be dissected in courts, in committees, and in online threads for months, maybe years. It raises the same urgent question that follows every political killing. What did we miss, and how do we stop the next one? The answers are not simple. They will require policy, community, vigilance, and, perhaps most difficult of all, a change of tone. The rhetoric of violence has to give way to the message of tolerance.